I am stepping a little outside of my comfort zone today by doing this video, but like Eleanor Roosevelt said, do one thing a day that scares you, and this is definitely it. For most of you, you already know that I have been in the holistic health world for a very long time. It's something I'm very open about. It's something I love helping people with. I just generally choose to take a more one-on-one approach with it, but I have been being asked lately to please make it to where I can work with a little bit more people on a more regular basis, and so I figured these videos were the way to go. First of all, this is a holistic health video. If it is not your thing, you're gonna wanna hit stop right now. Otherwise, you're gonna watch a lot of stuff you don't care for. But if you know somebody who is searching for something and searching for a way to heal in a way that they hadn't been able to before, or even if that's you, then you may want to continue to watch it. And if it's not for you, feel free to tag your friend in the comments so that they can see the video. I made this post completely open so that anybody can have access to it. So I guess you should start by knowing how this all came about for me. And you should know that my son, for 6 years now, has been completely medication free. And as of 2 years ago now, I have been completely medication free. So has my husband and my daughter. And just in case you're wondering what medicine looked like for us on a monthly basis, I can show you. This is my family's prescriptions. And you know, we don't really notice this because when we're done with the prescription, we generally throw the bottle away, or they're scattered all over the house in individual bathrooms and rooms designated for that person. But if you took every prescription in your house and you stuck it in a bin, it's probably gonna look like this. And this really bothered me. It bothered me a lot. And it seemed like with every prescription we took, we got worse and worse. It started with my son, who had ADHD, and he was just 5. He was little. I mean, I guess the ADHD symptoms started around the age of 3 or 4, but by the time he made it into school, he was such a mess that legitimately, in car line picking him up, my husband's in the driver's seat, I'm in the passenger seat, and his teacher came flying through the window across my chest to scream at us to medicate that kid. Now, I was mortified that that happened, but I was more mortified that that woman risked her career to just tell us the truth, because our son was out of control, and it prompted us to go to a doctor. And while most of you may not think that her behavior was okay, I honestly feel like her behavior sparked something that saved my entire family's life. So we went to the doctor, and a psychiatrist absolutely gave him the paperwork, and she was like, ADHD 100%. And we took that paperwork to our pediatrician, and we were like, ADHD, give us the medicine. And he did. And we went through 5 medicines, including Concerta, the patch, Ritalin, Adderall, all of them. And the only thing it did other than calm him down was make him extremely emotional and eventually suicidal. And when a 5-year-old talks about wanting to kill themselves, something is wrong. So we went back to that same doctor who, luckily, actually incorporated a real learned base into his practice. He wanted to know why his patients had the diseases and symptoms they had, not just what medications to give them to cover it up. And so when we went back to him, he was very honest with us. And he's like, look, most of my parents can't handle this information, but your child's not ADHD. Your child is suffering from the side effects of what you feed him. And that was very confusing to us because we didn't understand how what we were feeding our kids, because we were so healthy, was doing this. And I even told him, I was like, well, we buy everything that says like sugar-free and organic, or, you know, baked and not fried. And he said, well, first of all, are you checking for food coloring? He was like, food coloring is the #1 thing that causes ADHD symptoms. Food coloring is a neurotoxin, and it causes children to exhibit extreme behavior, including ADHD symptoms. And we were surprised to know that it was in almost every single thing we were buying. Additionally, he went on to give us a full list of foods and products that we should stay away from. But I am kind of a bullhead, and there was no way I was gonna let this beat me. So Tim and I decided that day we were gonna follow his plan, and he told us this could fix our son. So we went home and we cried about it, but we literally took every can, box, and bag of processed anything out of our house. And when it came down to it, I think we had a bell pepper in the fridge and a bag of potatoes at the bottom of our pantry left. Every single other thing in our house was on a list that causes children's bodies to react so extreme. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that all children do not have ADHD. There are absolutely children out there who require this medicine, but this medicine makes them normal. In our son's case, it was destroying him, and we were just smart enough to see that something was wrong. I actually thank God that we had the doctor we did, because I honestly think any other doctor wouldn't have known to tell us why our son was being this way and how we could fix it. So honestly, Dr. Wasserman, you're a life changer, and I love you, and I'm grateful for your dedication to your patient's healing, because you definitely sparked something in me that I had long forgotten, and have used it on my life path since. So after getting Aiden completely off of ADHD medicine, which by the way only took a 2-week period, and keep in mind, we were the kind of people where when we went out to eat, every table around us gave us the death stare because they wanted to just get up and beat our kids. So we were normally embarrassed anytime we went out in public with them. And 2 weeks later, it was hard, really, really hard. But 2 weeks later, we had cleaned up everybody's diets, gone through all the hissy fits and the crying and the hunger strikes and everything else. And my kids were eating real food for the first time ever. And we went to a restaurant, and this woman came up to the table, and my husband and I's immediate reaction was our hearts sinking into our stomachs, because we knew that this was just one more person who was gonna just say something horrible to us about our kids. And instead, she told us that we had the most well-behaved children she had ever seen in her life. And that floored us. We had never been told that before, ever. I think I got in the car after holding in an extreme amount of anxiety and excitement and just freaking cried, because that was, to me, the most validating thing in the world, that all that hard work had absolutely made a difference, even though I didn't see it because it happened so gradually in front of our faces. So that's what happened with my son. And after that, we did a really great job of keeping up with his diet specifically, but the rest of us kind of would start to slack off here and there on the eating healthy thing. And then all of a sudden, my thyroid failed. And keep in mind, I have spent 13 years in the medical field. I worked in surgery. I went back to school pre-med. I then became a procurer and harvested tissue and organ for transplants, and absolutely had every intent on becoming a doctor. The only problem is that I was feeling the pull towards the Eastern medicine more than I was Western medicine. And I know the benefits of Western medicine. I worked in it for a long time. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that it has not got its place, because it absolutely does. But I feel like in a way that it can only do so much for us. Doctors learn what our symptoms are. They learn how to treat the symptoms. And honestly, there are a lot of doctors now who are really starting to incorporate the holistics into their practices. They want to know why people are suffering, and they are doing a great job. But for a lot of people, we're still running into medicine treatments that are just a pill. Here, take a pill. I mean, I have an entire box of every time I've been told, just fix it with a pill. And I did. But the only problem is one pill led to another and another and another. And before I knew it, my thyroid failed. And so I was taking a thyroid medication. I had ballooned up to almost 200 pounds. It didn't matter what I did. I could not lose the weight. I was told I was going to be on this thyroid medicine for the rest of my life because once your thyroid fails, it never starts to work again. And I just accepted that. That was my reality. I was going to take this medication forever, and that's okay. Well, shortly after, I started to develop restless leg syndrome from the thyroid medicine. And so now, in order for me to take my thyroid medicine and stay healthy, I also had to take another medication for restless legs. And so I was up to 2 medications daily. And then from there, it sparked me having arthritis. I had arthritis in both hips and both knees, and was now taking something for that. I was also starting to get migraines daily, so I was taking Fioricet daily. I had gone into a depression and had been put on Wellbutrin, and then sparked anxiety, so now I was also taking Xanax. I had high blood pressure. I couldn't sleep. I had developed eczema and rashes and skin itching, so now I was also taking like a prescription anti-itch medicine or antihistamine daily, and it came down to 9 prescriptions I was taking every single day, and my body was just completely failing me. Every day I woke up worse and worse and worse and worse, but while each prescription masked another symptom that I had, I knew that I wasn't truly getting healthy. I actually knew that I was getting worse. And so I really dove into nutrition and started to read all the studies that were coming out by all the top universities on foods, how they affect our bodies, what chemicals that they're sprayed, that are sprayed on them, how those affect our bodies, how just the situations in which the food is grown can help or hurt us. And when it came down to it, I realized that it was again the food. Everything I was eating was killing me. So after a few years of refining a breakdown of everything I was eating, according to every symptom I was having and taking a medication for, I found a way to cut out everything that was killing my body. And you need to know that every person is different. So what works for me may not work for you, but there are certain guidelines on how to figure out how to eat your best meals for your body, your symptoms, and the things that you want to heal. And hopefully that is what I will be able to help more people do. So as of 2 years ago, I no longer take any medications. My husband no longer takes any medications. My daughter, who has had chronic eczema her entire life, my poor child, has been on antibiotics and steroids since the day she was born, is now off of every prescription and has never had another breakout again. And all we did was take dairy out of her diet. Luckily, I have just found these amazing doctors who really, really researched what's going on and what we need to do to heal our bodies. And they're very free at telling me, dairy does this. Dairy is the #1 allergen. Even if you don't test having a dairy allergy, the large amount of consumption of dairy that we do is what was killing your daughter's immune system, her skin, her first defense, her biggest organ in her body. And so I was like, okay, let's give it a try. We'll pull out all dairy. Went completely dairy-free. Within 1 week, every patch of eczema, and I will post a photo of what my daughter looked like, and it would make you cry. Her skin was completely broken open, always had an infection or a staph infection or something, because, I mean, there was just no protection there for her anymore. And within 1 week, everything had started to dry up and disappear. Within 3 weeks, she had not a single eczema patch on her skin and had continued to not have one until 6 months later when we reintroduced dairy back in, because we actually, I'm going to take a step back a second. We actually took 2 things out of her diet, gluten and dairy. Even though she wasn't showing any signs of having a gluten or dairy allergy, we were going ahead with the process of elimination that one of those 2 things, if not the combination of the 2 things, was what was causing her issue. So at one point we did add dairy back in and it all came right back. So at that point we knew that it was definitely dairy. So at that point we allowed her to start eating gluten again. And she did fine. But then we found she would start to get smaller patches every here and there again. But if we pulled out the gluten, it would all disappear. So in some weird way, a combination of gluten and dairy was really affecting her, and in the worst way. Her body was definitely intolerant to the dairy's effects, because taking that out almost completely stopped all of her symptoms. But so was the gluten, just not as badly. So it meant that she could go to a birthday party and have cake, and she would maybe get a patch here or there, but we knew that we could just like completely stop all those things again and then she'd be fine again. And unfortunately, that's really not the ideal way to live, but when you've got children, this is a hard process. They want to eat the candy and the chips and the cakes and the cookies and everything everybody else is doing. So it makes it to where you have to almost allow your kids to cheat every now and then just so that they can stay in a positive mindset about being healthy. All right, so I'm just realizing how long we went on this video, and so I'm not going to break down all of our stories, but I think you get the gist of it. And I have kind of refined a process that I have been working with people on to help them totally heal in a complete way. And it includes your normal doctor's regimen, but also adding in a healthier way of life. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do 3 sets of video classes. The first one is going to be called Crawl. The second set is going to be called Walk. And the third set is going to be called Run. Because honestly, you cannot run until you have walked and crawled. So you didn't get to this point overnight, which means you can't heal it overnight. And trying to give you all of the information that I give the people I work with all at once is an unrealistic expectation. It is setting you up to fail because, like I said, it is a process that got you here. It is a process that will get you out of it. So in order to make the most realistic plan possible, I have designed a set of 3 changes per week that we can do. It includes, yes, your thought processes. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter what religion you believe in. All that matters is your mind's process, your mind's ability to do what it needs to do. And you kind of have to teach your mind to be its best organ. So it's a mind process, an elimination process, and an affirmation process. They are free, so feel free to go and watch them. I do ask that you only do 1 a week. Don't set yourself up to something you've bitten off too much, don't want you to bite off more than you can handle. If it's already something you're doing, then yes, go to the next one. Eventually you're going to find one you're not doing yet, I promise. They will all be on my website, which I will post below, and on our Facebook page, so I won't be cluttering my personal Facebook page with any more videos like this. But if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via the Yana Mama page or the Yana Mama websites. And hopefully I can help you all reach some real goals for health.